The fourth branch of government, how the media became a political actor, is what we're going to discuss today. Welcome back to another episode of the Political Lens Podcast, and I hope you enjoy. The American press was never meant to be governed. Its role to observe, question, and expose to serve as a check of power, not a participant. Yet, over time, the media has drifted from the role, evolving into something closer to a parallel institution of influence, not elected, not formally accountable, but deeply embedded in is how power operates. In many respects, the media now functions as a fourth branch of government, shaping outcomes rather than merely reporting on them. The transformation did not happen overnight. It emerged gradually as economic pressures, technological change, and political polarization reshaped the information landscape. Traditional journalism once operated in scarcity, limited channels, slower cycles, and editorial gatekeeping. Today, information is abundant, instantaneous, and algorithmically amplified, and the environment's attention is currency, and outrage is a reliable generator of it. The incentive structure has changed, and with it, journalistic behavior. Our modern media outlets do not simply report facts, they frame reality. Framing determines which stories matter and the voices are credible and which are not. Interpretations are acceptable. This power is subtle but immense. Two outlets can report the same event and produce entirely different public reactions based solely on language, emphasis, and omission. Over time, audiences are not just informed, they are cautioned. Access journalism has further blurred boundaries. Reports rely on government officials, agencies, and insiders of information, which access is valuable, but it comes at a cost. The hard questions, risks, exclusion, skepticism, risk silence. The result is a relationship that increasingly resembles partnerships rather than oversight. When media institutions internalize the priorities of those they cover, independence erodes greatly, but decisively. Narratives consistently has become most important than factual completeness. Stories are often slotted in pre-existing frameworks, systematic failure, institutional injustice, and the existential threat before all facts are available. The corrections then they come rarely carry the same prominence as the initial framing. The public's memory retains the first impression, not the footnote. In this way, perceptions hardens even when the evidence evolves. As social media has accelerated this dynamic, algorithms reward emotional engagement, not accuracy. Content that provokes anger of affirmation, which spreads faster than content that informs journalists, influencers, activists, and officials now operate within the same attention economy, competing for visibility. The line between reporting and commentary collapses when everyone is incentivized to perform. Now, this has been having profound consequences for the public's trust when the media outlets appear selective in their scrutiny, aggressively towards some institutions, differential by others, credibility suffers. Trust is not lost because the audience disagree with the conclusions. It's lost because standards appear inconsistent. A press that demands accountability must also be willing to apply it evenly, regardless of the political alignments. The media's role in the crisis coverage illustrates the problem clearly. During the emergencies, public health, civil unrest, foreign conflict, the urge to simplify intensifies. Complexity is reduced and moral binaries. Doubt is treated as danger. Dissent is framed as irresponsibility. In these moments, the media often acts less as an information conduit and more of a behavioral regulatory guiding public response rather than informing the public's judgment. Now, as the shift's implicates for the democracy itself, a self-governing society depends on all the citizens who are capable of evaluating competing claims. When the media organizes the positions themselves as arbiters to the acceptable thought rather than facilitators of debate, they narrow the space of the democratic deliberation. The goal becomes consensus, not understanding. And as the consolidation of the media's ownership further compounds the issue, a small number of corporations control vast swaths of information. While diversity of platforms appears highly diversity, perspectives is often limited. The editorial priorities converge. Taking Point's Echo independent journalism struggles to compete for the scale, reach, and resources. The appearance of popularity masks underlying uniformity. And although the media has risen in response, filling gaps left by traditional outlets, this has democratized information, but also introduced new risks without editorial standards. Misinformation can spread as easily as insight. And as the collapse of trust in legacy media does not automatically produce a more informed public, it produces fragmentation. Audiences retreat into ideological silos, each of its own version of reality. As the challenge then is not choosing between mainstream and alternative media, but rebuilding norms of credibility, transparency, and accountability across the board. Journalism must rediscover the institutional humility. Its power lies not in shaping outcomes, but illuminating facts clearly enough for the public to decide. This requires a cultural shift within newsrooms. Opinions must be distinguished from reporting, not blended into sources that must be challenged, not echoed. Errors must be connected, visibly, not quietly. And uncertainty must be acknowledged rather than masked with confidence. And as the public also bears responsibility, the media literacy is no longer optional. Consumers must question framing, seek primary sources, and resist the comfort of confirmation. Democracy cannot survive if its citizens outsource judgment entirely, regardless of who they outsource it to. As a free press is indispensable, but freedom without discipline becomes influence without accountability. When the media institutions wield political power, they must be subject to the same scrutiny that demand of others. Transparency is not censorship, criticism is not attack, and accountability is not hostility. This is the Unfiltered Political Lens podcast. The media doesn't just report the political landscape anymore, it shapes it. And anything that powerful deserves examination, not exemption. Thanks for watching another episode. Until next time, we'll see you later.